Alright everybody, welcome to today's video. Sorry about the absence of content in the last week. Long story short, I've been super busy and had some technical issues. Now, you hear my dogs barking, you hear other dogs barking. From time to time, on occasion, what I will do is I will just take the camera outside and walk around my yard. Got a nice big 3 acres out here where you love to enjoy. I got it fenced in for the dogs, so you might hear a car drive by, you'll hear the dogs bark. Just gives me some place different to record where I'm not always having to just stay inside and try to find a quiet space there. So for today, this is something that it's just been gnawing away at me and gnawing away at me. And the title of the video is probably something like a conspiracy theory or are we getting set up? And so I'm just going to lay out what I think I see happening, kind of what my gut is getting here a little bit. So we got the midterms coming up here in less than a month, right? And it seems like more and more every day we're seeing a few things. We're seeing things like the PayPal thing. If you don't know what happened with PayPal, PayPal accidentally, in their words, put something in their new terms of service that basically would allow them to fine you $2,500 out of your own account if you posted anything that they deemed misinformation or that they found basically offensive. And the way it was worded was it was at PayPal's sole discretion, and they could fine you per meme. So like if you posted 3 things on Facebook one day that they deemed misinformation, they could literally fine you $2,500 per meme. Now, of course, this came out, there was a huge backlash, and PayPal backtracked and said, oh no, that was a mistake. We didn't mean to put that in our terms of service. So we're seeing things like that where, from my point of view, that is such an egregious thing. It is such an obvious attempt at something that the overwhelming majority of the population is going to be against, even probably most people that would consider themselves liberal. I think the only people that would be in favor of something like that are the 20% of the extremists on the left side. So we're seeing things like that play out, and then we're also seeing in the media a little bit more of a pro-conservative spin. You're seeing stories where, like with Tulsi Gabbard, they're kind of coming out and publicly being anti-woke, anti-left, this sort of thing. And what I believe is happening here, and I want to take you backwards a little bit to kind of clarify what I'm saying. If you remember, this all started in 2000 when we had the disputed election with Gore and Bush, right? That was the first election that we really had where people were accusing either party at all of cheating or gaming the system or finding a way to win. Now, when I say the first one, I mean presidential-wise. Up until that point, there really hadn't been a tremendous amount of controversy. So you had Gore versus Bush. Then you had Trump versus Clinton, where Clinton herself and many of the people on the left insisted on the Russian collusion scam, which we all know for 4 years the left pounded down our throats about how Trump colluded with Russia. And in the end, we had to find out that not only was that fake, but they knew it was fake because they created it with the help of the FBI. But again, we had an election that a certain segment of the population called into question. Fast forward to the last election with Trump-Biden, and none of us are, everybody is aware of how that election went down. Whether or not you think it was legit or not, everybody knows what a certain segment of the population thinks happened in that election. So the point is we've now had 3 presidential elections where there's one side or the other accusing the other side of cheating, and each time it's escalated and gotten worse and worse. I think that by itself, and then you throw in what the media is throwing out there with the things like the PayPal thing, and the things where we're just constantly being bombarded with the craziness of the left and the transgender, the things that are going all the way too far, where it's involving children, etc., etc. I believe that we're being set up. And what I mean by that is we are being shown on a consistent basis now so many things that make the entire left look, I don't want to say crazy, but it's clearly putting them in a light that, again, the majority of the country is going to disagree with, right? So I believe that's being put out on purpose. I believe that what's going to happen is you're not only going to see a massive victory for the Republicans in November, but you might also see some victories in places where they maybe might have, not have, could have, should have won. You know what I mean? I believe it's going to be a massive lurch to the right, and I believe that there will be multiple different results that are going to be called into question by the left as the possibility of the right having cheated in those elections. And I believe that the reason why we're seeing so many more stories coming out now that paint the left in a particular light is because what if, and here's the conspiracy part, but if they're both working together, if both sides are working together, and this is all a show and all a movie like so many of us believe, then if you were going to cheat pro-Republican this time to put the final nail in the coffin in your desire for control over people, if you were going to just wipe the floor with the Democrats and have the Republicans win, not just in the races that appear to be close, but if you were going to have them win in races where traditionally they would have no chance. If you're going to do that and you wanted the public to accept it, think about it. Look at what they did with Trump and Biden. They had so many people so full of hate against Trump that whether or not the Democrats cheated in that election is irrelevant, because for the most part they could have proven that they could have proven that the Democrats cheated, and a huge amount of Democrats wouldn't have cared because they just wanted to get rid of Trump that bad. So I think the flip side is fixing to happen. Whether you're going to see cheating or not, or whether or not they just want things to appear as though cheating happened. Now think about that. Think about if both sides are working together, right? And their idea is to divide us until at some point one side just completely takes over. So what if it's all been fake? What if it really wasn't that close in Florida in 2000? What if they made it appear as though we already know the whole Russian collusion thing was fake, but you're never going to get 20 to 30% of the left to believe that, even though the FBI had to admit it. So what about now? What if the entire plan is to simply make the left to look so incompetent, to look so crazy, to look so out of touch with reality that the Republicans could even cheat, wipe the floor with the Democrats in this upcoming midterms, and nobody will care. People will say, well, you know what? Did you see all this crazy stuff that the left wants to do? It's justified. Something had to happen. Anybody but that, anybody but Biden, anybody but the left, the same exact thing, just in the reverse, that led to Biden, where people were saying anybody but Trump. Now, I've said on this channel, and I'll say it again, that I do believe a massive lurch to the right is coming. And I believe that they're going to put into place eventually, how can I put this? As far left as it appears that we're going right now, and the things that we don't like to see, I believe it's going to go that far to the right. And I believe that we're being set up so that when this shift happens, not just in this midterm, but when laws start being enacted, I believe people are going to be willing to give up some of their freedoms if it means the left cannot take over. Now, this is the proverbial slippery slope, right? Because, like I've said before, there's 20% on the left, 20% on the right. They're the actual extremists. And it might not even be that high, really, to be honest with you. Especially, I have a feeling on the left, it's not even 20%. I have a feeling that media, social media, etc., amplifies an extremely small segment of the population for an agenda. And anybody with common sense can figure out that the agenda is not so that the left can take over. The agenda is so that when the right takes over, people will be willing to follow the right practically off of a cliff if it means we get rid of this craziness that they're just throwing at us and shoving down our throat right now from the left. That's what I believe. And to further the point, like I was saying, they could cheat without cheating. And what I mean by that is they could take some of the closer races. Let's say Pennsylvania, for example. Okay, there's some very close House and Senate races in Pennsylvania. So maybe Oz genuinely wins that seat, right? Maybe he genuinely wins that seat. But maybe the powers that be make it look as if there was something nefarious going on. You see what I'm saying? They make it look as if somehow people were, stopped from voting. There's discrepancies with the computers. They could make it look like there was cheating when there wasn't, just to simply get the left pissed off. You follow what I'm saying? Because when people are angry and people feel like they were cheated, things happen, like January 6th. You see what I'm saying? All right? They could be manipulating our emotions to just get the flip side of that, which would further put more people into the court, into the camp of, you know what, anything to get rid of the woke people, anything to get rid of the left. Because there is that segment that, is an extremist, and their behavior is legitimate. There are people like that. But again, I believe they're being amplified so that we feel like, oh my God, they're all taking over. And now, to some extent, they're not having to fake it. We have seen what's happened with school boards, and that's why I preached in a couple of the other videos. It's important to vote properly in your local, state, county, city elections. Okay, it's extraordinarily important, or it's just as important that if you have the ability to run. So it's not like these things are not happening, but I believe it's being amplified purposefully so that if the right should completely wipe the floor, like I said, with the Democrats in November, and they start implementing a certain agenda that many of us would not normally accept, but now we're looking at it going, you know what? All right, I'll accept, and this is a made-up example, but with all of the sexual curriculum that is entered like elementary school, okay, you could see a situation where in some localities, people will say, you know what? Not only are we going to take all of that out of the classroom, but we're going to put the Bible back in. And there will be enough support to do it because we've been shown, in parentheses, how crazy these other people are. So that's, you could call it my conspiracy theory. You could call it, I guess for me, my gut, my guides, everything I feel is telling me we're going to have, excuse me while I walk past the dog. Everything I feel is telling me we're going to have this lurch to the right. And that people are going to accept things from the right that we would never imagine that they would accept. Okay? Just think about yourself in 2019. If somebody would have told you in 2019 that we would agree to shut down the country for months and you'd all be walking around with a mask on your face for a year or more, you would have said, you're Cocoa Puffs, you're crazy. We're never going to do that. We're never going to accept that. And I think a lot of what's happened and what we're being shown is simply being put out there to manipulate certain people so that when the right takes over and they want to do things like put the Bible back in school, they want to do things like, you know, maybe some slight prohibition. You better watch out if you like, you know, to smoke. You see what I'm saying? I have a feeling that these things are coming. I'm at least trying to be aware and bring awareness to the fact that they are attempting to manipulate our feelings. And when you really, really get down to it, they know, and we know, you know, I know, we all know, that the entire world is not going to go woke. So why are they pushing this? They're pushing it so that when the right takes over, people will accept things that they would not normally accept. That's my take. All right. Appreciate everybody who's been watching. If you find this information valuable, comical, entertaining, whatever it is, please do hit the like button, share it, subscribe, curse me out in the comments. I'm good with that too. Again, I apologize for not getting more content out earlier. Hockey season's starting basically, and I've had some technical issues. I actually had a video ready to go yesterday and my microphone was cutting out on me. Apparently you can't plug your microphone and a space heater into the same outlet and expect your microphone to still work. So who knew? All right, I'll get this up and now. I appreciate all the support and I'll see you again real soon.